if you are a man or especially a woman and is in a career that they're not really that satisfied with and is open to alternatives like high ticket sales, for example, and is really wondering if they can really make enough money to make a good living in this industry, then I know this episode is going to be great for you because our guest really dives into her journey, the lessons, the experiences she's had in going from a place where she, in her first job, got fired because she wasn't closing enough deals to taking these same calls on another and is now on track to hitting her short term financial goals within the next 6 months and is making more money per month than most men in this field. So, if that sounds like something that's either helpful or interesting to learn more about, then I'm going to get out of your hair and let you enjoy the show. This is episode 15 of Remote Boys, and this is a bit of a special one because, as you guys can see, we have our first female guest and a special one at that. And just so you guys are aware, whoever's listening, a lot of this is going to be centered around her transformation. This is Princess, um, somebody who's made huge strides in the high ticket sales space, in my opinion. If you guys saw her last year, which you can find maybe on Facebook, she describes herself as almost a mouse, right? That's how she felt about herself when she carried herself both in sales, working, and outside of that as well. And we're going to dive deep into how she got into a position where, in my opinion, she's even more confident than myself, taking sales calls with high end business owners and being confident enough or comfortable enough to face rejection from these types of people if it means getting to the truth of whether or not it's going to be a good fit between these potential clients and the companies that she's representing. So, the first thing I want to dive into, Princess, is what attracted you to get into high ticket sales in the first place?
Yeah, it was definitely working from home and the fact that I could make six figures from home. Like a lot of us, I saw the ad, you can make 10K a month from home, and I'm like, what? Like at the time, I was on my feet all day, like 14 plus hours a day. I was in nursing school and working, and so when I saw that, I was like, let me click this ad and see, watch this training and see what he's talking about. I had no idea what remote high ticket sales was. And then, yeah, I joined the program and I dropped out of nursing school and focused on this.
Gotcha. How quickly did that happen for you where you could just drop out?
Um, I'm an all-in kind of person. So, 1 month into the coaching program, I dropped out because I was like, I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna make I'm gonna hit 10K in 90 days, and the only way to do that is to be all in. I was sold the dream, so I was like, screw it. Did not happen. Like I didn't hit that in 90 days, but I was committed. So.
Hmm.
How did that actually go? Like the first 90 days?
Oh gosh. So in the third month is when I got on my first offer as a setter. Didn't know what I was doing, but within 1 month of that, I weaseled my way into closing on the offer. Still didn't know how to close. Um, and of course I got fired off the offer eventually because I didn't close anything. I think I closed like three or four
Oh
deals in the whole
gosh.
month. So yeah, but so it was not good at all. And it wasn't until like a few months after that that I found like the objection box and then changed things.
What made you actually want to keep going? Because I know we've all kind of been through a similar, 10K in 90 days. I mean, after the 90 days, how come you kind of just didn't go back to nursing school, you know?
Because I knew that if other people were doing it, if they were making six figures from home, I could do it too, even though if it took longer. Like I was just determined to make that happen. Like not doing that was not an option for me because I burned all the backup plans.
Oh, okay. Okay. When did you actually get into sales?
Um, in 2022, so the middle of 2022. Uh, so yeah, it's been almost 2 years now.
What has been the biggest breakthrough besides the objection box? Because obviously it's been a couple of months throughout that process. Did you try anything? Like, did you try three programs? Did you try invest more into sales training? What has made you, I guess, like the biggest shift to like keep going? Because I'm sure like if you felt like, okay, this is leading me nowhere, like and you saw no progress, like you would have given up, right? Or maybe you wouldn't.
Um, so I mean, yeah, I invested in the first program, and then I would do like little like webinars and trainings, every little thing I could find. But I think quitting was not an option for me. Like I'm an all-in person. Like I think what motivated me was seeing other people win. So I
Mm.
knew I could do it. And I had limiting beliefs. For a while I thought that because I was a woman that it would be harder because I didn't see any other women killing it. Um, so I think that held me back a little bit too. But yeah.
I was actually going to ask you your experience on that.
Hmm.
You know, how is it being a woman in a pretty male dominated industry? Because like you, I think I can name like all the women closers I know on like one hand. You know, there's very few women in this space that are actually closing.
Yeah, it only sucked when I had the limiting belief because when I thought that it would be different because I was a woman, then it felt different. But once I realized it does not matter, then I shifted my mindset, and then that's when I started to actually grow. Because it really doesn't matter. I have women ask me all the time, like, "Oh, what was your experience being in this male-dominated space? You know, how is it different for you?" And it's like, it's not. Because whether or not, like, the thing that's going to determine whether or not we actually help people on our calls and close those deals is our skills and our confidence in ourselves. That has nothing to do with our gender, you know?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I
How
get
how
you.
did you how did you break through those limiting beliefs? And if you don't mind sharing them, like what were those limiting beliefs like specifically? Was this just literally, being in a male dominated industry or
It was, um, I thought, well, I won't be respected on sales calls because I'm not a guy. And
Mm.
guess what? When I thought that, I was getting disrespected left and right. Guys were trying to flirt with me. Guys would be like, "Oh, this sounds really great. I'm not going to start today, but can I get your number?" Like, excuse me?
Really?
Yeah.
No
Wow.
way. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I'd get sweetheart, all this stuff. And it's just like, but once I shifted my mindset and I started leading, then I don't get that anymore. So it's all in here.
The only
It's
numbers you
really
get
because
is the
it's
piffs, huh?
yeah. Yes, exactly. Um, yeah, so it's when I decided, okay, it actually makes no difference. It's and worked on my skills, the thing that I can control, then everything fell into place. It's all about the skills and your confidence. I'm telling you, like, it's no difference.
How did you actually see the big difference? Because I was a big believer in like showing up on the calls and how you show up and like the mindset part of things. I noticed when I was just kind of treating these calls as like, oh shit, like this is serious, all that stuff. I'd always flop it. I would just bring a lot of tension into the call, which people can immediately catch onto. How did you see that for yourself, like in the first couple of months as a like being new to this space?
Yeah, I was super anxious, so it like I made other people uncomfortable. Um, so that was all like I was like anticipating the objections at the end, knowing that I didn't know where I was going with it. So I was so afraid, and so I would bumble around and it would just be a hot mess. Like, oh, it's so cringy to think about. Um, so it's really all about like for me when I worked on my skills and got more confident, then that just translated, you know?
Yeah. And
So that's really all it's about.
And what did you focus on in that process of, essentially kind of stepping up to show up with more confidence, with more authority, leading those calls? What are some of like the little baby steps that you were taking?
One was, okay, I could focus on how I actually sit up and present myself. And the other thing was how I speak, because, if I can fake it, then he could get me so far. And the other thing was just learning how to objection handle. So that way, when it came up, I would feel more confident in knowing where to take the conversation.
Were you mostly just afraid of the objection handling aspect and like the rest of the call was fine, or
Yeah, the objections, that's all I was afraid of because, like, anyone can ask questions, you know? because in the beginning I didn't even know I had to challenge people, so I would just take whatever they
Yeah,
said.
I don't think anybody realizes that at the start either. Um, yeah. Actually, I was wondering, um, because I feel like a lot of our listeners, or at least I'm feeling that, or at least our target audience is people trying to figure out how to live remotely, which comes down to figuring out how to transition into it from where they are now. And I'm wondering for you, before getting into sales, do you feel like there's like anything in your past that was perfectly transferable into sales that has really benefited you and your performance and just making it work, if that kind of makes sense?
Yes, two things. One, I used to box, and so I'm used to like getting punched in the face, like physically. So this was just psychological getting punched in the face. That's all it was. And so that being used to, I guess, failure in that context with boxing was like very, very embarrassing and painful. And so just translating that to sales, it's like, okay, I suck at this, but I know that I can get better as long as I keep training. And it's like not the end of the world. At least I'm not getting a black eye. That's one thing. And the other thing is, I'm the type of person when I want something, I make it happen no matter what. So like I've always been like selling. Like for example, like I sold my dad on like buying me my first car, paid in full, like when he really didn't want to, but I was impatient. I wanted my first car, you know, and like all little things like that. Like when I wanted to move out, my parents' house, I like made a PowerPoint and sold them on that, on like letting me do that, you know. So ever since I was younger, I've always kind of like if I want to do something, it's gonna happen.
Mm,
And so I knew that I wanted to make six figures in remote sales, didn't know how, but I'm gonna make it happen. So that mindset.
gotcha. That like resilience or that I call it like for me, I feel like I'm just really stubborn. Like for example, like my whole last year in 2023, I made absolute jack in high ticket, and Sam and Shawnee know specifically. Um, but I just like you, like the only reason why you won't get there is if you give up.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's literally it.
it's as simple as that. Because like I bet for you in your first sales program you went to, you probably do you know still some people that are still in high
Yeah.
ticket? Yeah, but it's probably a small fraction compared to probably all the other people that you started to know, and then just you don't know them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people quit because it's rough. Like, but it sucks because we get sold that dream. A lot of programs are like, in 90 days you'll make 10K. So if
Yeah.
90 days goes by and then 4 and then 5 and then 6 months go by and you still haven't hit that, then people are like, well, I guess I'm not cut out for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Just feeds that
Yeah.
negative loop over and over, which is why I sometimes feel like the need to like whenever I'm getting in someone on a skill set based offer. I'm just trying to be just brutal, honest with them. Just kind of give them more a realistic of an approach because I understand that just based off of our journey, us three specifically, it takes a lot of hard work. There's a lot of fighting, like just with yourself. And I don't think many people are cut for it. I think I think everyone is cut for it, to be honest. But when you set the expectations that you're gonna get to that in 90 days, you're gonna get super discouraged when you don't get it. And I feel also if you fail that program and you keep trying pushing it, and if you fail again, I feel like that's why some people have a lot of those limiting beliefs. And we see them sometimes on our calls, I've tried two to three things, it has failed, all that stuff. What would you say to those people that didn't stick with one thing but tried so many different things, but that dream is still there, except they just don't have the results for it just yet?
I would challenge them and, ask them like, well, when you say that you've tried all those things and it failed, what do you mean by that? And they'll kind of be like, oh yeah, I was in the program. If completed the program, didn't achieve the results. So I'm like, well, did the business fail or did you just quit? And then they'll be like, yeah, I quit. So it's like, what are you going to do this time around? Are you going to quit again or are you going to actually stick with it so that way you do achieve your goals? That's the question you got to ask yourself. Because if you're going to do the same thing, then don't just quit. Just don't. Just go get a 9 to 5. Yeah.
I love that.
I was listening to your podcast, Princess, with Nick behind the sale, and you were talking about your do or die challenge. Can
Mm-hmm.
you just dive into that a little bit? Because I remember seeing your posts, and you were saying how you were so afraid on the calls, and then all of a sudden, that them posts have been afraid started to turn into, close two deals, and I was like, I had a day where I closed all my deals, and I closed like type A people, and it was like just so enjoyable seeing your progress from being like that little mouse to being the confident woman that you are now on the calls. So can you just dive into that a little bit for us, please?
Yeah, definitely. I I hit my enough is enough point where I was tired of hearing people say, "Well, this was such a lovely conversation, princess. Can you just send everything to me in an email and I'll get back to you?" And I never hear from them again. And it was just over and over and over. Everyone, such a lovely conversation. Oh, it's so great talking with you. And it's like, I didn't get into this to just have lovely conversations. I'm here to help people and, of course, make money in the process. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to just challenge people, do what I need to do, ask the tough questions because it's not like I didn't know what to say. I knew what I needed to say on my calls, but I was too afraid to say it. And I think that's most of us. Like we
Hmm.
have a framework, we know what to say, but it's scary. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to let go of all of that even if I fall on my face. And so for an entire first it was like a week. I'm going to every single day, all my calls, ask the questions, no matter what. I had people hang up on me. I had people say mean things to me. I cried like after every call, but every single time it moved me like even 1% closer to being able to help someone. So when I finally did start to help people, like it clicked. No one cares if you stutter because when I'm uncomfortable, I stutter.
Hmm.
I sweat profusely. I look like you can see that I'm struggling, like I'm having a panic attack. Um, but it's just like, who cares? No one actually cares. I was so self-conscious about all of that stuff. But it's like they're on the call because they need our help. And so that challenge was me committing to myself and publicly holding myself accountable to falling on my face every day until I grew. And that changed everything for me.
Because it was around that point, I remember, I think it was August, wasn't it? August do or die
Um,
challenge. Or was it
it
was
was
it 1 month?
in it was in July. July.
Sorry, July. But that's when I noticed like the biggest shift because I remember the first few days in Elite, joining the role plays we had just outside of the regular schedule, and you just kind of going and like with every single call that we would meet, like it would just be such a difference with how you even present yourself. Maybe you haven't noticed it then, but it was just so drastic, like of a change every single call. It's like speaking to a different person. But I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what happens when you put yourself in a position where your back's against the wall, you have no other choice. Yeah, because the other thing is I told myself after this challenge, if I still don't get better, I'll quit sales.
Damn.
Yeah.
What's the biggest thing you've learned about yourself, Princess? Because like I mean, you've done a lot of, you did the unconventional thing, left nursing school, left a good job, or a route to a good job. What's like some of the biggest thing you've learned about yourself over the last 2 years?
Hmm. The biggest thing, I think it's that everything everything I ever wanted to be,
Hmm.
I already have that in me. I know it's cliche and fluffy, but it's so true because I thought when I would like visualize the woman I want to be, I thought I had to be like 33 or something. Like I thought it came with age. Um, for context, I'm 27, and I thought, okay, when I hit 30, like I'll finally become more of a leader. I'll finally have the courage to challenge people. I'll finally like be that person. Like for me, I look at Layla Hormozy and I'm like, that's goals, and I'm like, I
Hmm.
could come close to being some like her when I cross 30. But it's not, no, it's like you can just choose to be that now. And so I learned that about myself, that I could just do that. Yeah, I hope that wasn't too fluffy for you, but it's
No,
true.
no, it is true because it is all inside of us, and it is really just a mental game, because you can have the skills, and you did touch on it just a second ago about how we are just so afraid, and we get so caught up in our own head and so self-conscious about what other people will say, and you don't want to say it, and then you leave the call, and it's like, shit, I should have said it, you know.
Yeah,
And I mean, everyone has that in there, but it's crazy how big just your mindset has in life in general, really.
yeah, it's huge.
How who how did you how did you overcome your limiting beliefs? Like did you like yeah, because you had them, so how did you get rid of them?
Um, hmm. I haven't really thought about that. Like, how did I actually get rid of them? I want to say it's as simple as making the choice, but it wasn't that simple. Um, Falling on my face a lot and seeing that like nothing bad came of it. Like only good came of that. So putting myself on the hot seat when it comes to training, getting embarrassed on my sales calls, just doing the thing.
Hmm.
It's like, oh, okay, I didn't die. It's fine. And I actually got to help people. And then I was like, okay, so then it's not about being a woman. That's not what made it difficult for me. I made it, I I made my learning curve a lot longer in the beginning because I told myself it'd be harder
Mhm.
because most, the guys crushing it are guys. Yeah.
So how's it now feeling that, I mean, obviously you're not a guy and you're crushing it absolutely. I'm sure you are probably a sole reason why a lot of women going into this space feel that, straight away they can just crush it, right? Maybe you didn't get there as fast as you wanted to, but now you get to be that inspiration for a lot of women out there. How I know, because I speak to a few of them and they always bring you up. So how's that feeling for you? Because we touched on it a little bit yesterday on our pre-call thingy. I know you mentioned that there's women reaching out to you.
Mhm.
How's that making you feel? Because in a way, you kind of stepping up to be that Layla Hormozy of this space, at least
Oh
in
my
some
God.
extent, right?
Jeez. Okay, that just made my week.
I'm glad.
Yeah. It's like wasn't intentional at all. I'm just doing my thing, right? But it's cool to see that I'm inspiring other women to come in this space and crush it. Um, I think it's pretty dope. um, I really like. I really want women to like get that it doesn't matter. The gender does not matter because the people coming onto your calls, they're coming onto the call because they need your help. They're still, regardless of who the closer is, the prospect is still coming with the same fears and doubts and insecurities in themselves. So we're in our head, telling ourselves that it makes a difference. It really doesn't. They just need someone to lead them, regardless of who it is.
Do you think it's harder for lady closers to kind of step in to be that leader more, or
That's a good question because that I think that's the thing that makes us get in our head is like, well, typically when you look at gender and the main difference is like our energy, right? Like men are more they walk with more leadership naturally. Um and that's why I thought too like it would suck for me, but that is a thing. That is a thing. So I do want to talk about that. For women, especially women who are more feminine energy women, that's where it can feel tougher.
Mhm.
Um, I had to train to be the leader that I am. So I hope that I didn't make it sound like super easy. It's like just decide. It's like no, no, no. I had to like yeah. Our coach, Bill had to kind of slap it out of me. Um, so it's not a bad thing, right, to be a feminine energy woman. However, on our calls, being warm and nurturing is not what people need to take the steps to become the person they need to be to achieve their goals. Um, it's like if you have kids, your kid, like if they're climbing on furniture, they're climbing on the dining room table, you're not going to be warm, and it's just like, get off the table. Like, I don't care if you cry, get off the table, because I don't want you to get hurt. Another
Mhm.
example, if you don't have kids, is like your friend. If you have a friend who has a drinking problem, you're constantly having to rescue them because they're wasted in the middle of nowhere and they're just ruining their life. You need to be a different version of yourself with that when you have that tough conversation, like, hey, can you stop being an idiot, because I don't want to see you die. It's just like that. You just need to show up in a different energy to really help the person. um and it does take practice. For sure.
How do you actually, I wouldn't say cope, but just being naturally more feminine, stepping into that more masculine role, do you sometimes feel exhausted after the calls, like kind of trying to vent through emotions, or like do you do
Yes,
something for that?
at the end of every day, I am so drained. I'm so drained because on every call, hour after hour, I have to be a version of myself that I am not outside of my calls.
Yeah.
You know, so in the beginning, it was very much, okay, it's like, it's time for my call. Fake it till you make it, princess. Like, it's like, as soon as I put my headset on, it's like, all right, we are leader.
Game
It's
on.
leader princess. Game on. Something I do intentionally is I say, hey, I'm one of the coaches on so and so's team. I don't say, hey, I'm princess. I don't even say that, because the word princess just kind of, like, I don't know. I noticed just a thing on their face, regardless of whether the prospect's male or female. But so that's just the thing that I do because of my name. But at first, it was like, fake it till you make it, and then it became more natural. But it is exhausting because I am being a slightly different version of myself that I am outside of the calls. But that's okay. That's what's required. It's like anything else. It's like if you, I don't know, if you uh, it's even if I don't know, it's like if you compare it to like a different job, uh if you are a teacher, you've got to step up and be a different version of yourself to really lead these kids.
Yeah.
So it's just like anything, it's a job, and it's like, yeah,
We gotta be professional, I suppose.
yeah, you got to be professional, but you got to be
Yeah.
a leader as well. And if you're not naturally a leader in your life, it's like, well, it'll start to trickle, because now I'm more of a leader in my life as well, which is awesome. But yeah, it doesn't have to be this super scary like mountain to climb. It's just every day show up and help the person. I think if we put in our minds that the prospect is like that friend who's throwing their life away, treat them like that way. That's it.
What
Uh,
things do you do outside of your calls that you feel like really contributes outside of training, for example?
Mhm.
Like,
Um,
yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
yeah, I I listen to. I think it's the content that I consume puts me in the right my mindset. When I do get into my calls, like, so I consume the Hormozis, their podcast, like both of them, Alex and Leila's. Um, I, I push myself to like be active and work out, because ever since I stopped boxing, I'm like, I miss it. Like, I miss being more active, so I run. I hate running, especially in the cold, but like, I make it happen and push myself to do things that I don't want to do, but I do want to do. So it's like the same exact thing that we do with our prospects. So doing that in my life, holding myself accountable, that helps me show up better, because I have more integrity on my calls when I'm like pushing them, because it's like, come on, like, they can feel that. People can feel in your energy. If you tell yourself every day that you're going to run and you don't, and then you're trying to challenge that person, like, they can feel that you're a phony. So I
Hmm.
think that's the biggest thing.
That's an interesting point you make. I feel that, and I hope the people that listening, they really get to see what it actually takes to make it in this industry. Because you have described so many hardships when it comes to that do or die challenge, right? Literally crying after
Every day. Yeah.
every call. And not only that, but having to lead yourself outside of these calls and level up yourself and do things you haven't done before and always be uncomfortable. Do you feel that it's really important to really know why you're doing all of this?
Yes. Your North Star has to be so strong. If it's not, you will quit. It has to be. My North Star is strong. Are you curious about what mine is?
Well, I mean,
Absolutely.
I
I
feel
am.
like I feel like that's where you got to go to now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, my North Star for getting into sales, it's like, yeah, I can work remotely, make money, blah, blah, blah. But the real, like the thing that keeps me going is I want to retire my dad. He works really hard. Both my parents are immigrants, and they worked really hard to give me a very privileged life. And he's working so hard. It's like I'm watching him age really fast, and it's killing me to see that. And I look at it like I need to retire him very soon because honestly, if I don't, he will die. And so I look at it like if I'm not successful, he will die. That's what is in my mind when I'm on a call and I want to ask someone an action question and I'm afraid to because they're type A person. I'm like, well, it's either you ask the person the question or dad dies. That's my North Star. So it
Wow.
has to be powerful to fuel you to do all the things that you need to do. It's not easy. I want to make that so clear. Like people think it's easy because of the dreams that are being sold. It is not. Like challenging people every hour of the day, not easy.
Hmm.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
As in like looking to actually provide for your parents. Like that's actually my North Star.
Mm.
Just trying to provide for my mom. Make sure she doesn't have to work after her 50s.
Yeah.
Definitely share that. But it's a one hell of a driver, and I
How
think
how close are you to your goal, Princess, to actually retiring your dad?
Um, I think if I could, I think I, I think I could in the next like in 6 months if I'm consistent.
Hmm.
I could, which is bananas. I might wait a little bit just to make sure I'm really consistent. Because I'm scared. What if I don't want him to retire? And then it's like, oops, actually,
You have to go
you
back to
know.
work.
So let's say a year, maybe to be super on the safe side. Um, yeah, because my parents are bougie. Like, I want to be able to help them sustain the same lifestyle. So yeah.
What does he do? What does your dad do for work?
He's an electrical engineer. He has his own business though.
nice.
So he's doing everything. Um, yeah, I've been telling him for years, can you please hire like more people? Like to kind of because he's doing all of the things. He's
Hmm.
running the business, doing all the stuff. So yeah, just seeing him age really quickly sucks. And my mom's a nurse, so they live a very bougie lifestyle. And I wanna help them like retire happy. So
A nurse and an electrical engineer. I mean, you definitely gotta be making the dosh for that one.
yeah, yeah.
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 I'm all up for it. Got my fingers crossed for you.
Thanks. Yeah, and when I have that conversation, it's gonna be like the most amazing feeling in the world. Like, hey, dad, you can actually like you can retire for real. He won't believe me. He's like, no way. I'm like, yes way.
Do you think he will actually want to retire though? Or do you think he's still gonna be
Mm,
keep going?
he's a workaholic, but I think he might just work a little less. But hey, whatever, it'll make me happy.
Yeah. That
So
work less is I mean it's more time with that you guys can spend together, right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
less injuries and less, he's just, all the things.
I know you got a sibling, your brother, right?
Yeah.
Was he ever interested in like following your footsteps or is he in a
No,
completely different area? Okay,
not at all. He has his own business, completely different. Yeah.
that's fair. So he's
Yeah.
not interested at all, is what you're saying.
Not even a little bit.
Oh
No.
gosh. What do you think?
Yeah,
What do
which
you
is
think? No, sorry, go on.
no, you go ahead.
What do you think? What do you think are some of the things like in sales that for a person that is looking to get into like this space might be red flags? Like just because we're insiders, we've been in this space for a while. Some of the things we're aware of at the moment, the beginners will never be aware of, right? What do you feel could be some of those red flags for people? Because you mentioned like it takes a lot of hard work, takes a lot of like actually stepping up as a person and actually leveling yourself up. So I guess what do you feel like goes through your head like when you think of potential red flags? whenever someone wants to get into this space?
Red flags meaning something that like in the
Could turn
like
them off or just
hmm, turn them off. I mean, there's so many reasons not to do sales. I mean, like it just depends on the person. If the person is not a go-getter, if they're not willing to, like, say it's a woman who's not really willing to um, lead and who's not willing to step into her masculine energy a little bit. Like, I feel hesitant to say that because I don't want people to overthink it and freak out, because
Yeah.
it's like we all have it in us. We all have both energies in us. Um, like, so it's like if you're not a go-getter, because I've had some women tell me, like prospects who were like coaches tell me, actually, I don't know if this is for me because I'm not a go-getter. And I'm like, girl, you want to make 500K a year? What are you talking about? You you need to be a go-getter. um, so if you're not resilient, you're just not gonna make it. Um, so I think the red flags for me are like more in the person as opposed to in the high ticket sales space. That's how I look at it. Because anyone can do it as long as you have the right traits and you're persistent and you want it bad enough. So let's say this: if someone doesn't have a big North Star, that's a red flag. Like don't do
mm,
it. Don't come into this. If it's just for the money, it's like go get a corporate job.
yeah.
Yeah,
hmm Basically, the
Do
whole
you,
process that we take people through in a sales call, all the types of questions we're
pretty
asking,
much.
right? Yeah.
do you do you
Yeah.
do you think you'd do this again, Princess, if you knew what it actually took to get to where you are now?
Yes. 100% yes. 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 Because I get to make more than I would have made as a nurse sitting on my butt all day. Yes. Yes.
Fair enough. And I guess with sitting on your butt all day, how do you like what do you enjoy your life now? Because I know when you're at that stage from going from bad to, great, it's you spend a lot of time inside on the computer, and you can kind of get caught up with just jumping from Zoom call to Zoom call to Zoom call. I know you mentioned you push yourself with your running and stuff like that. I guess do you enjoy like where you are now, the money you're making, the lifestyle you have, or is it still just, working and grinding to get your dad out?
I'm just grinding. My life is pretty boring, but I'm happy with that. Like being boring and like making more money than I've ever made in my life is so much better than having a what I don't know, going out and doing things but working a job I hate like that, because
Hmm.
I think if I stayed in nursing, like that's what it would be. I would make decent money, but I'd be stressed. So I'd probably go out and drink a lot more to kind of take the edge off, and I wouldn't be happy. I'd be in pain. Like I was already in pain. I was having back pain all the time. My ankles were swollen every day for being on my feet for 14 hours. So like I'm so much happier now. Yeah, I love my life. I tear up when I think about like how grateful I am to be able to like make good money sitting on my butt all day because I was on my feet for so long. Like the alternative sucks. But yeah, I love it.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Well, I think we're coming to the tail end, at least how I'm feeling about it right now. And I think probably the most helpful thing to end it on is for those listening up until this point, especially those that aren't in the space but are interested enough to get in. How do you recommend them to properly research and figure out what type of mentor or coach they should really pursue to help them get into this industry the right way?
Hmm. There's like no way to know in the beginning, right? It's not about I don't think it's about the mentor. I mean, it makes a difference for sure because there's very different perspectives and out there. Um, consume all their free training, and uh, whoever you feel like you resonate with, but also the process. Okay, consume the training, practice using the things that you learn in the free training, like with other people, role play it, and then invest in a mentor that you feel like, okay, yeah, I can do this. It's tough because in the beginning, people don't know what they don't know. So it's hard So just consume free shit and practice and train and get on an offer. Like, it doesn't have to be the best offer in the world. But at least that way you can practice with real prospects, fall on your face, and then the training will actually mean something. Because if you're not on an offer, role plays like that's not gonna cut it,
Yeah, because
honestly.
it's one thing when you're role playing with each other, but when there's like 5K on the line, 10K on the line, and you have to make money to pay your bills, and you know you're sweating, and that's when it really counts.
Mm-hmm. So I would say from the very beginning, get on an offer. I mean, it's going to be a crappy one because you have no experience, and that's fine because you're probably gonna get fired off of it anyway. So just get on something and start selling people something. That way you can implement the stuff that you learned in the free training, and then you can decide, okay, what's working for me, what's not working. Is that weird?
Um,
No,
Ah,
no,
no,
it's
not at all.
facts. That's literally what it is. It's absolute facts. So, anyway, I think that's where we'll conclude things for this 15th episode. So, for all of you who ended up watching to the very end, um, how do you recommend they see more of you, Princess? Like, where do you feel like they should go if they want to see more of you?
My podcast, Behind the Sale. Like,
Okay.
I interview some dope people, and you guys will be there soon.
oh yeah.
And yeah, and my mission with that is to help people level up their skills in terms of their leadership, so that way they can close more deals and actually help people and get out of their own way. So yeah, I think that's where. So Behind the Sale, it's on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts.
All right. Well, there you have it. Um, anyway, we'll leave it there. I hope all of you guys who are listening enjoyed that. We really are taking this more seriously and being more structured and making sure that your guys' time spent with us is actually going to be fruitful. So we'll end it there, and we'll catch you guys maybe next week or the week after for episode 16. So
Well,
Awesome.
definitely
Thanks for
more
Thanks,
having me.
fruitful.
Princess.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.